Hey everyone, it has been a while since my last video or project. Today it will be a new lesson that I've learned while in college. As many of you who may have forgotten, everyone watching this video is most likely people I know. Um, so today's project or lesson, I'll be talking about relationships. And this is not just romantic, it's more of platonic. Um, as I'm in college, I've looked back on my past, way back then, especially how I interacted, been socialized, and whatnot. And I just wanted to dive deeper. Well, not deeper, but recall of what I experienced and how the changes affect of who I am now. Um, let's start with the beginning. Elementary school. Looking back, I was definitely extroverted, despite not knowing any English. Um, I would say I had very strong bonds and relationships with the people around me. Very strong, and looking back now, I've noticed, or not noticed, I've realized, in fifth grade, like pre-K to fifth grade, I've noticed that I've was very naive when it came to being friends with people. I was very innocent, very goody two shoes, I guess you can call me. There's nothing wrong with being a goody two shoes. However, that that front of being the good person didn't really help me transfer into middle school. Um, Middle school, it wasn't, looking back, it wasn't as, I guess it was pretty bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Um, my transition from fifth to sixth grade, it was very nothing. It felt like nothing changed. I was still, I guess, still active. I started off strong when it came to knowing people. However, I didn't adapt. I guess you can say I didn't adapt to the new environment. In elementary school, you can literally be friends with the entire class because you only have one class. You don't have multiple. However, in middle school, you have multiple, and the thing is, I guess I was still in the mindset of, oh, it's just one class, but however, you have multiple classes, and for that, I would say I definitely lagged, um, more socially lagged behind, with my other peers. My peers, they're really um, really connected with each other. They formed their own groups and whatnot. However, I struggled in that area. It wasn't. I I guess the people would call them the popular loner. I guess, in which you know everyone, and everyone you know everyone, but everyone knows you, but you're not exactly friends with everyone. If that makes sense. I definitely knew like everyone, because it was a very small school. However, many of the people that I would talk to, it was not. It felt like we were co-workers, and that I know that doesn't make sense when you're in middle school, but it felt like they're just like acquaintances. Basically, they were just people that you talk to. Um, Looking back, I I guess I wouldn't say my parents were the main problem, but they were part of the problem when it came to socializing outside of school. I mean, I I tried hanging out with people outside, but the limitations my parents put on me definitely affected how I interacted with people. Um, and in a sort of way, it made me contribute to the lag I had with other people. Um, Middle school was just, it was okay in sixth grade. I mean, I did feel a sense of being excluded from many of the people. Like, most of the people around me were, I guess you can call, quote unquote, bad kids. You know, they were interruptive, and they weren't listening. And I guess at some point, kids would like to hang out with those bad kids, you know, to look cool or whatever. Um, Definitely, a story I tell everyone, but a story I had was that my I it was a snowy day and school didn't start. It started really late. However, since I lived like 5 minutes away, I got there like 30 minutes early, and I was waiting, and quote unquote a friend of mine came like, I guess like 10 minutes after me, but the school was still closed, and me and her were having conversation, and the conversation ended when her friend finally arrived, and she said, "Well, I'll just paraphrase it," and she basically said that that she was so happy to see her friend because the conversation with me was just so boring, and that at the time I kind of ignored it, but looking at back now, I should have really uh, took the hint, or not for myself, not from other people, but for myself, that I need to do something about it. Um, it didn't really hit me of my place in society, I guess. After believe was the summer of seventh grade, um, I went to this program called Text Prep, and it was basically a STEM program. It was recommended by my math teacher. And like in the beginning, I thought it was pretty okay. I mean, my parents said that they would reward me if I passed. However, after I took the program, a lot of changes have happened. One, I was hit with a reality check. I will be honest. I understood that I've been looking back. I saw that many people would call me the smart kid, or the good kid, and like, oh, you're so smart, you're so smart, and like at the time it felt great. It really did boost my ego. But after the program, it really showed me that I have an average IQ. I'm not, compared to the people I met. They are definitely on another level, and that realization really killed my self esteem to the point where eighth grade it was just in the dumps. I guess you can say it was my all time low. Um, I stopped completely interacting with people. For the whole year, I actually sat alone at lunch, just eating salads. At the time, I just I couldn't understand or bear the this reality upon me, and that really affected me, how I interacted and with people in eighth grade. I would notice that people were having fun; they're enjoying the last year of middle school. However, me, I felt like a sense of loneliness. It wasn't a very intense feeling, but it was still there. It was present, and for that, it just it really effed me up to like transitioning to high school. High school, I spent a semester, my first semester, alone eating salads. I mean, the salads were good. Don't get me wrong, but I just I looking back, I understand what I was thinking. Since the program, I kind of since I was surrounded by these, just prodigies and these like amazing kids in academics. I kind of set that expectation with people at my high school. However, um, the expectations I put were really high, and at a point, I think I thought I was better than them, which is so stupid to think about now because I was definitely not better than them. I mean, um, it wasn't after the second semester whenever I started to really lower my standards. I'm like, and really give myself a reality check. It was like, if you're not on that level, you shouldn't be having those expectations. And we're all equal here. I mean, we've been knowing each other since pre-K. You shouldn't really just switch up on them like that. It's just not really that healthy to do. I didn't learn that until second semester. So the entire first semester, I let it fester, and like my resentment towards everyone grew. I started being more negative towards. I had a negative outlook with people. I didn't really, um, I didn't really connect with people. Um, I never had a best friend, I guess you could say. I mean, you don't necessarily need one, but um, there are many reasons why I don't have a close friend. The main reasoning is that every every grade level in elementary school, first to fifth grade, I had a best friend. However, every year, my my quote unquote best friend, they would always leave. And I mean, it's not their fault. Don't get me wrong. But every best friend I ever had has either left, um, been gone away, different classes. I've been in multiple trios, which ended up from elementary to high school, where the two people, what used to be a guy and a girl, they would date, then break up, and then our entire trio is just obliterated. And at some point, it really did feel like I was being left behind. I was definitely being left behind in friendships and trios and whatnot, and that I don't know if it's probably is the fact that I sometimes push them away because I guess I'm afraid of um, being hurt. However, sometimes I really do want to embrace it and not push it away, but it gets difficult when we get too close. Um, junior year, junior, the transition to sophomore to junior year. That's whenever I really, I guess I could say it's my recovering period. It took a while to recover. I had a new mindset, I guess. Well, like developing a new mindset, more like where I've I've realized that the people I talked to throughout high school, I called them my friends. However, I realized I did the experiment where like if you don't text them first, then what happens? Um, a lot of my friends, quote unquote friends, I've made, it was always it felt like it was me um, talking to them more than them talking to me. Um, it also felt like most of my friendships were like a business transition or a transaction. Excuse me. It would be like whether it be like giving answers or helping this or helping that, or I provide too much help or I push help. I realized that I I didn't become friends with them because of who I am. I became friends with them because of what I can provide, and that can be vice versa. I mean, most definitely, I probably became friends with someone, quote unquote, friends with someone because of what they can do, and that's the same with vice versa, like I said. And a lot of my friends, I just straight up deleted. I mean, there was no point of keeping them. There's no point of keeping business transactions, I guess you can say. I, however, did not delete everyone. I actually formed a group, like a group that I made called the 1%. This 1% were just basically my closest friends. That's essentially what it is. It's just my closest friends I hang out with, I could talk to, and yada yada yada. Most definitely, I've learned that most of my relationships were not as strong as I thought it would be. I really it did hurt. It did like open the little hole of loneliness up. However, it was best to know now because I wasn't. It meant that I wasn't naive anymore. I wasn't just blinded by this false image I had placed upon them. Senior year, as you all know, was COVID. I had a lot of thinking to do, so I guess you can call this the healing period, in which I really just I've accepted the fact of what happened throughout the years. I have accepted of the lows, the ups, what kind of friends I have, and what kind of friends I don't have. At a point, I just became content with what I have now, rather than what I don't have. Um, in a way, it did help that I didn't see a lot of the people. Sometimes I feel like I force myself to interact with people for the fact that I just want to talk to someone, when it's just best if I just keep to myself for now. Um, and that definitely did help me throughout my transition to college. Um, in college, I wasn't like now I'm in college, but in the beginning of the semester, I wasn't like glooming and just you have to be this, like you have to be like 500 IQ or something like that, like something crazy like that. It was more of the fact that I was pretty chill about who I met. Like the friend group, if you're listening to this, which is most likely just one of them, if you're listening to this, um, I I put myself as HN. More the fact that my old name, you all already know. I just don't want to say it right now. Um, my old name, it was very, very. I would say like a prototype. I guess you can say it was more. There's a lot of scratches, a lot of lumps, and just curves and whatnot. That it's not really polished, and for that, I've created, of course, if you watch this, Project Zero, Project HN. And in college, I would say I feel a lot better when it comes to socially. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a very small friend group. Like, it's like consisted of 3 people, 4 including me. Um, However, despite that, it it didn't really it doesn't really affect me for the fact that I only have like one friend group. I mean, over social media, I see that many of the people have a college experience. Oh, that I mean that's fun and all, but and I do. I'll be honest, I do envy them, because like they're having so much fun, and I'm here struggling in community college. But in the end of the day, it's more of content. I mean, I have friends at school now that I hang out with, and I have friends outside of school I hang out with. Not on a regular basis, but when we get together, it's very soothing for the soul. And I guess it's because the fact that I don't hang um this is like the only year where I actually hanged out with people outside of school. I know this sounds kind of sad, but um for I guess it's a sign of growing up, and hanging out with other people outside of school. And because I haven't been doing it for like this, like I'm fairly new to this, it feels very soothing, especially like I said, to the soul. Mentally, it's just very comforting, I guess, to know that there are people out there that I can call my friends. Um, Now, the lesson, I guess you can say, for this entire um, um, video, I guess you can say, it's the fact that looking back to all my relationships, all my past friendships, um, most, I'm not saying all, but most of my friendships have been very mediocre. Mediocrity. Critty. I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying. But they're very, I wouldn't say they're casual. I mean, when you're casual friends, like casual friendships, you have a certain level of comfort of talking to each other. But a lot of my, I guess, relationships have been very, very average, very boring. Like only conversation we ever had, um, was just like, "Hey, how you doing?" and "How you done this? How you done the schoolwork?" And as soon as like class ends, we will literally just not talk anymore. And I mean that's like the same with every other person. However, for me, it felt like every person was like that, or it was more of like a formal, like most friendships are informal, where you can just talk to them casually. But for me personally, I feel like most of my friendships are formal, or it's like it feels like you're just talking to a stranger, like for the first time, and you're like, "So how you doing?" and like the sky's blue, I guess, and very, very boring, very boring stuff. And looking back, at a time I kind of just accepted for the fact that every friendship is boring, but now, the people I talk to now, they're not huge. I have a very small group. However, they um provide more worth to the friendship than any other friendship I have ever made. And for that, I set a standard. I've learned my lesson regarding who to choose as a friend. Um, like it's very true when people say to hang out with people that celebrate you and not people who tolerate you, and that's very true with what I am going through right now. I I've put a standard for myself that I refuse to force myself to be in a relationship or friendship that in which I only put in the effort, and I'm the one putting the work, and that I'm not celebrated whenever we meet up. And for that, that is the lesson I've learned. That to set an expectation and boundary for myself and for other people. I've seen what real friends are like, and for that, I would be expecting that for everyone else. Probably not in the same level, but somewhere close, in which me and the other person can interact and actually hold a conversation rather than me just talking to a brick wall. And that is my second lesson. And this is my second topic of this video: relationships and friendships. I still need to learn a lot more. I'm still fairly new. I feel like I'm working backwards. You're supposed to have a good relationship when you're a little bit younger, not when you're older. But I'm doing it backwards. I'm doing it while I'm older. But this entire process is still fun to me. Very new, and it makes me more appreciative of the people around me and what I have now than what I don't have. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you're listening to this video, thank you especially, and I hope you all have a good one. And remember, keep the same energy with other people. Thank you.